Hello there. My name is Nicôle Rachal-Dormand. Today, I am going to be talking about a poem. The poem is called Alone, and it was written by Edgar Allan Poe. In order to fully understand the poem Alone, I am going to explain Poe's childhood. Ready? Let's begin. Edgar Poe was born into a family of traveling actors. As such, Poe's family was dirt poor. At the age of 2, Poe's father walked out on the family, and he only had his mother to support the family. Unfortunately, Poe's mother died in December of tuberculosis, leaving his older brother Henry, his infant sister Rosalie, and himself alone. Poe's father was found dead soon after his mother. He too died of tuberculosis, so the parentless children had to be separated. Henry went off to live with his paternal grandparents. Rosalie was adopted by the Mackenzie family, and Poe went to live with John and Frances Allan. The foster parents' last name was added on to Poe's, making his full name Edgar Allan Poe. John saw Poe as a punk who did not take life seriously, so they had a poor relationship. After earning himself a bit of debt in college, Poe asked his foster parents for help. John Allan refused to help Poe, so Poe stopped talking to his foster parents. Without any friends and penniless, Poe started his course of being a starving writer. Poe wrote many short stories and poems, none of which made him any money. In 1831, Poe wrote the poem Alone. The poem Alone is not only about Poe's childhood, but also about his future. Alone also shows how loneliness can affect a child, and shows the true feelings behind the poem. The first 5 stanzas of the poem talks about his difficult childhood. These stanzas show how Poe could not be the same as other children, as he felt like everyone else was just watching him, and no one wanted to be with him. The passions that Poe had were not the same as the children around him, and that left him feeling alone. The next 3 stanzas explain how sad Poe was for not having the same connection that all the other children seemed to have with one another. Poe is sad that he cannot share his life with children he could call friends. At the same time, Poe was happy he did not have to share anything. If Poe loved, he could love without having to explain himself. But then again, he was still alone. Stanzas 9 through 12 explain what Poe thought about his life. Poe saw his life as a whirlwind of disaster occurring one after the other. Even when everything seemed good in Poe's life, something happened that made him change his mind. It is a mystery to Poe as to why he has to be alone. The following 8 stanzas show how time is passing by. Time passes by so quickly, like a torrent of rain coming down from a mountain. The sun goes around the earth, going up, and then going down. One second it is autumn, the next it is spring. As time kept flying by Poe, he felt like he was even more alone. In a storm, lightning has thunder, a cloud had rained. As for Poe, he was alone, with no one to hold dear. The final 2 stanzas show how Poe's future will be. As the rest of the world is bright and cheerful, he will never find true happiness. There will always be something in his way. Even on his deathbed, Poe was for the most part alone. There was a great deal of research to figure out what Poe did during his last days. After years of research, scientists found out where Poe went during his last 2 weeks of life. On September 27th and 28th, 1849, Poe traveled to Baltimore in order to sell a magazine. On October 3rd, Poe loses consciousness and wakes up in a hospital a day later, completely delusional. 4 days later, Poe died at 3 a.m. As his death points out, his poem was spot on. Even if he died 18 years after writing the poem, Poe died alone. This poet, whom had nothing but his stories and poems, died alone. Even though there were other people in the hospital that Poe died in, he was still alone. No one was around to mourn him of the time of his death, and he finally found a place filled with happiness. Poe's happiness occurred when he could no longer see the demons that were always blocking his way, keeping him alone. Well, we have finally come upon a works cited page. This shows where my information came from, as well as where I got my pictures. It covers 4 pages. It covers 4 pages because of the amount of pictures I used. Alright, so this is page 1. Goes from A to B. This is page 2. It covers from C to F. This is page 3. It covers H to R. And this is the final page. It covers from S to V. Alright, thank you for listening to my analysis of Edgar Allan Poe's poem, Alone. Have a nice day.